What is up guys, Max here, and welcome back to another tutorial. As you saw before, today we are learning how to create that map travel thing you see in videos where we're going from India to Brazil and back. Super simple, and we are making this from scratch. So downloading all the assets and creating it inside of After Effects. Now, if you just want to skip this tutorial and download my project files, I did leave a link down in the description for that, just so you can take a look and see what I did. And one more shameless plug, feel free to check out my Discord. I just set it up. It is a direct chat messaging thing for film and other animation stuff, and you can talk to me directly. It's brand new, sign up, give me a shout out, I'll respond fairly quickly, as best I can. Thanks. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, here is the original inside of After Effects, and I want to start from scratch. So what I'm going to do is go to my project panel right here, right click, new composition. Now this opens up the typical composition thing. I'm doing 1920 by 1080 with 60 frames per second and a 15-second duration. We'll call this Tut. Now we need to download those assets. I actually went to Google, like lots of people do, and I downloaded a political color map and a little map marker. Now you can download whatever you want, use whatever map you want, doesn't matter. I recommend downloading something that is large, so map PNG. This is the exact one that I got. It seems to be a large resolution, 4572 by 2500. That's plenty big. And then map, I think I typed map marker PNG. And yeah, I downloaded one of these. It doesn't matter, pick whichever you want. Pick whichever one you want. I recommend one that is a transparent background, or you can make your own inside of After Effects. Now, once we have these in here, I'm gonna drag both of these into our composition right here in the little layer panel, and they'll both pop up. The map is huge, that's what we want, and the little PNG is right here. We're gonna move it over like this, move it on top of this one. Now we have a little map. And the first thing we need to do is go ahead and create the animation of this thing popping up. And as we saw in the one before, it like scales up and bounces like that. So the first thing we need to do is scale down this giant map marker. So click on the map marker, so click S on your keyboard and drag this scale down of this little map marker. Problem right now though is that this map marker is scaling from the center. But as we saw before, that when it actually bounces up, it bounces up from the bottom and scales up. We want the animation to scale up from the bottom, so what we'll do is click this tool right here called Pan Behind. Click this little marker, drag it down, hold Control on your keyboard or Command on a Mac and ping it to the bottom. Now when we scale this, it actually scales from the bottom. All right, so what we need to do now is create the animation for the scale. So we can leave it at 29% is fine. Go forward in time about half a second. We'll keyframe the scale by clicking this little stopwatch. Go back in time and scale it down to 0%, so it scales from nothing. And when it scales up, just like that. Now, a little faster. But we want to recreate that bounce that we saw in the original. And how did we create the cool bounce? It's actually really simple. What we'll do is we'll go to Google. Yes, you heard it right. We'll go to Google and type in bounce expression After Effects. Go to this link right here, Gray Machine. Looks pretty good. You can copy this URL if you want to. And go to number 1, which is this bounce v 1.2 bounce. And we will highlight all of this code right here, copy it, and then we will go back into this. We will hit Alt on our keyboard or Command on a Mac and click the stopwatch. It opens up the expression panel, which is where we will paste in that expression we just copied. As you can see, it's in here, I promise. There it is. I pasted it in there, and now we have the bounce. So copy and paste expressions from the internet makes your life a whole lot easier. Cool. Now we have that bounce. We can probably speed up this animation a little bit by moving these keyframes closer together, so it's real quick, just like that. And we will duplicate this to have 2 markers on the timeline. So we put them in 2 different places. So Control or Command D to duplicate this layer, which is now the same, and they're both these cool properties we created. Now we'll put them on the map where we want to create our arc. So take our map, let's zoom out a little bit, as in we'll scale it out. Let's put one in, let's put one of the markers here in France and another one in the United States. Maybe in Florida or something. Now these do look a little big, so what I'll do is I'll actually scale them down a little bit. This is where you get to play with the animation until you like it, or the size. So let's scale it down to 13%, looks pretty good. Yeah, 14%, I like 14%, not bad. Now what we need to do is actually zoom in and create that original line between the markers. So what we're gonna do is grab our pen tool. Let's zoom in on our timeline. I'm using the scroll wheel on my mouse, the hand tool by clicking H, and I'm moving around. We'll grab our pen tool, click right here. Use the hand tool, move over, zoom out a bit, grab the pen tool, and stretch out a line until it creates an arc. Just like so. What we'll do is click down on the shape layer 1. Now, if your shape ends up looking like something like this, with like a fill and no stroke, these little options up here help you get rid of that. Click the fill text. You can turn the fill off by clicking this. And same thing for the stroke, you can turn it on or off, so on and so forth. Now, on the shape layer 1, which is this arc we just created, we'll drop down on this, drop down on contents, drop down on shape 1, drop down on path. Ignore path, I'm just kidding. Drop that on stroke, and go to line cap, let's go to round cap, and then go to dashes, click up on dashes. We'll do number of dashes, which is more. Something like that, looks pretty good. And all right, I like that. Last but not least, we need to create the animation of it going left to right, or right to left, whichever you prefer. What we'll do is click the shape layer 1, we'll click add right here in contents, and we'll go to trim paths. Add that, drop down on trim paths. We will do a start keyframe for start, go back in time, however long you want to do it, doesn't matter, and then move the start up to, looks like we're going from Florida to there. For some reason, I don't want to go from there to Florida. I want to go the other way. So we'll do the other one. This is a good lesson here. We'll click on the end keyframe, move it down in our timeline, and move it back. Now we're going from there to there. So play around with the start and end keyframes until you get the exact line thing you want. So as you can see now, it's actually doing this. So when it starts, right here, is when these two layers need to be on top. So it starts right here. The first one is right here. It needs to be right here. Somewhat, so it goes up. Click U on your keyboard. Let's stretch this animation out a little more, make it a little longer, and this one can move down over here. Actually, it starts, boom, a little more time, start, finishes slightly quick, and then right there. Just like so. You can stretch it out a little more, make it a little longer. And maybe we'll make it start a little more in unison. Now this is where you play with the animation until you really like it. I actually want to zoom in, click my hand tool, move over, and I want to make sure this is like right on top of this. Move this over to the end. Make sure this is like right on top of that. And actually click on the shape layer, which is our stroke, and actually change the color. You can also click that and change the color to like a darker red. And I want to make sure that these shapes are actually right on top of that, so it looks a little more accurate. Cool. One final touch to make this kind of cool, we will highlight both these keyframes for the stroke, right click, keyframe assistant, and easy ease, which creates like a more of an easy movement of the keyframes. Looks a little nicer. Now, we need to make that kind of zoom in, zoom out kind of thing we saw before on our original, where the actual camera looks like it's following this. And there is some time between these two, so yet again, I'm gonna mess with the animation really quick. Grab this, grab this, grab this, move it down some, so this scales out, boom. A little bit further down on the timeline, boom, then goes, and then lands. Cool. Now, we wanna create that thing I was just talking about, which is the zoom, just like so. What we'll do is go into our layer panel and right click new null object. Then what we'll do is we'll actually move this null object something like right here. We'll kind of put it right on the beginning of this, which is what we want. And then we will actually highlight all of these layers and use our parenting and link option. If you don't see your parenting and link option, right click in this little gray column right here in the layers, go to columns and then parent and link. It opens up this option. So highlight all of these and parent it to null 2, which means all of these will follow and do exactly what null 2 does. So click on null 2, click scale or S on your keyboard, and we're gonna zoom in. As you can see, we are zooming in to where this is, which is pretty awesome. And then we will actually use P on our keyboard to position this in the center of the frame. Now, what's really cool about this is you go to this little title and action safe right here, click on this little icon, title action safe, and you can actually center this right in the center of your frame, which looks really nice on screen. Then we'll keyframe the position, move this back in time, the keyframe, to where it should start with the animation. So it starts to move with the animation. And then we'll go forward in time, which is, from here to here, and we will actually move this until it looks like it's right in the center of this one. So, as you can see, it moves like so. Okay, cool. Now, what we'll do is actually make it look like the camera is scaling away or zooming away from the map as it moves. So what we'll do is go to the beginning of our timeline right here, or the beginning of where the animation is, click S on our keyboard and keyframe the scale, go down to the end, and then keyframe the scale once again to have the exact same scale right here by clicking this little diamond right here. Now go into the center of that scale between the North Atlantic Ocean, and then hit increase the scale or decrease the scale so it looks like it's zooming out as we move. Now you can play with this as much as you want. You can zoom super far out or just a little subtle zoom out. It doesn't really matter. Now when it moves, then it zooms back in. You might make the move a little more drastic. I think that'll look a lot cooler. If I delete this, zoom out like so. Now, we want to also do the same easy ease effect on these keyframes as we did the others. So click on null 2, click U on your keyboard, shows all the keyframes, highlight everything, right click, keyframe assistant, and easy ease. Now if we play this back without the frames and all that stuff, that looks pretty nice. Just like so. Okay, now there's one more thing that we're gonna do to make this look awesome. We're gonna highlight everything, we're gonna right click and pre-compose. Call this American, or Florida trip. Let's call it Florida trip. We have our nice animation that's about 6 seconds long. Goes from France to there. Not bad, not bad. We'll go to our effects and presets inside of After Effects. If you don't see effects and presets, go to Window and Effects and Presets right here and type CC F, so CC Force Motion Blur, and drag this onto here. Opens up our effect controls inside of After Effects. We'll change the motion blur samples to 16, change the shutter angle to about 360 to increase the amount of blur that happens. And now as you see, the screen is blurry. The animation has gotten blurry, so turn this off and on. It creates a nice blur of animation for us. Now if we play this back, it does take a little longer to render motion blur, but it looks really nice when it's done. And that is it. We have made another one of those travel map, travel animations that you see in documentaries, fun movies, and other things on YouTube. Always fun to learn how to make something new. Am I right? As always, I'm Max. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being a part of the channel. If you are new to the channel, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel to enjoy more of my videos. I think that's how that works. That about wraps it up. Until next time, peace.